The shortest wedding ceremony I've ever photographed was only 6 minutes long. The longest was over 4 hours. And you're here wondering what to include in your ceremony and how long your ceremony should last. In this video, I want to go over the common and not so common things I've seen incorporated into wedding ceremonies. I'll also talk about the perfect time length for an ideal ceremony. And if you stay until the end, I will disclose an amazing trick that you can pull off, which will assure you your ceremony starts exactly on time. This will be one of my longer videos, but I'm going to try to keep it under 15 minutes. Hello everyone, my name is Bill Rice and I am a Tampa-based wedding and portrait photographer, and I have owned Bill Rice Photography since 2006. I have photographed over 700 weddings, countless engagement sessions, tons of family portraits, and pretty much everything else under the sun. My focus of this channel is to educate and guide you, future brides and grooms, on how to plan, execute, and enjoy your dream wedding. You can help me grow this channel with a like, comment, or follow. That will help me reach others like you who may be in the process of planning their own wedding. Now, right from the start, these do not include religious ceremonies done in churches or synagogues. I have photographed every different religious ceremony from Jewish to Muslim, Catholic to Mormon, and Chaldean to Hindu. And if you're wondering, the Hindu wedding was the 4-hour ceremony I mentioned in the intro of this video. Specific religious ceremonies have very different flow and timing that you might have very little say about concerning their length, due to the many customs and rituals therein. Most religious ceremonies I have photographed average between about 45 minutes to just over an hour. Many of the weddings I've photographed have religious attributes included, but they're usually done at a beach, park, or at the wedding venue with an officiant rather than a priest or a rabbi. When you design your ceremony, you are designing and timing it from the start of the processional to the end of the ceremony, specifically after the bride and groom kiss and they walk back down the aisle, followed by their wedding party. This doesn't include family members walking the aisle or being escorted to their seats. The stopwatch starts with the officiant entering and ends with the bridal party's recessional. We'll go over all the other ideas you can include in your ceremony later, but let's get the typical ceremony framework down first. Start picturing this in your head. Your own wedding. The processional starts with the officiant walking down the aisle to the front of the ceremony site, followed by the groom. The groomsmen have the option to follow the groom, but more often they are paired with a bridesmaid. So following the groom, the groomsmen, accompanied by a bridesmaid, will walk in the order from who will stand furthest away from the bride and groom during the wedding ceremony. This means the best man and maid of honor will be last in the bridal party processional because they are close to the bride and groom. After the wedding party, it's now the ring bearer, followed by the flower girl. This can lead to some very funny photos. I've seen kids have complete meltdowns. They're unpredictable, so just roll with it. Finally comes the bride, accompanied by her father. The father will walk the bride to the front, where the officiant usually asks, "Who gives this bride to be married?" The father will respond, "Her father," or "Her mother and I." The father kisses his daughter and shakes the groom's hand before he takes a seat. And dad, don't step on the train or the veil when you walk to your seat. I've seen it 100 times. Then we get to the main body of the ceremony. The first thing the officiant should do is to ask everyone to be seated. I've photographed weddings where guests literally stood the entire ceremony because they didn't know they should sit down. The officiant then asks the bride and groom to face one another and join hands. This is when the bride hands off her bouquet to her maid of honor for the remainder of the ceremony. This is where you have a lot of freedom in creating the ceremony you've dreamt about. But for now, I'll continue on with what typical is. Next, the officiant can talk about several things, mostly dependent on the relationship the officiant has with the couple. Now, if they've hired an officiant rather than a friend or family member, this is usually a little bit more traditional as to how the ceremony unfolds. They'll talk about the significance of the rings, how the couple met, and maybe some religious aspects could be touched upon. Now, if your officiant is a close friend or a family member, it can go any number of ways. Sky's the limit in how you want it done. After the officiant spiel, there's usually some family or friends involvement in the ceremony. Most of the times, these are songs or readings from poems or religious verses. Following this, the bride and groom can do some kind of unity gesture, such as pouring sand into a vase, mixing the different colors, signifying two lives into one. Or a unity candle, if it's an indoor ceremony, because I guarantee the wind will not cooperate with you. Next comes the vows. Many couples write their own vows and read them aloud to one another. Or your officiant might have a repeat after me type of format if you choose not to write your vows yourself. Traditionally, the groom goes first, but it's completely up to you. The vows should be short and sweet. I would recommend under a minute each. Your ceremony is going to seem much longer than it actually is. And for most couples, it's the most nerve-wracking part of the entire wedding day. Practicing your vows out loud prior will help ease this nervousness. Saying your vows are really the only part of the ceremony you need to actually perform. The rest of the time is other people talking or singing or reading. All you need to do is stand and smile. After the vows, the officiant usually asks the best man for the rings. The officiant will give the ring to the groom first to place on the bride's finger. And remember, guys, that's the left finger. The officiant will say something along the lines of, "Do you take this woman to be your wife?" The groom then says, "I do," followed by the bride placing the ring on the groom's finger and her saying, "I do," when asked usually the same questions. This order is once again traditional, but this is your ceremony. You can design it the way you see fit. There are some weddings where the "I do" part is eliminated, and it's usually replaced by the couple stating something like, "I give you this ring as a symbol of my love. I promise to yada yada yada," and so forth. The "I do" part is replaced by what is called the declaration of intent, just as good as the traditional "I do." After the rings have been exchanged, your officiant might say a little something more or get right to something like, "I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may now kiss the bride." You kiss. Then you grab your bouquet back from your maid of honor and you make your way down the aisle, followed by your bridal party. This is where the ceremony officially ends. So let's go over the many different options I've seen work terrifically at weddings, and maybe a few you might want to forego. You can search the internet for everything you can possibly do at a wedding ceremony, but I'm only going to mention what I've seen work the best. So let's start back at the beginning of the ceremony, and I'll be listing several ideas for you that you might want to design into your ceremony. The first one is for your guests. It's hot, it's sunny, it's cold, it's rainy. Think about your guests' comfort. You can always have blankets, sunscreen, water bottles, and umbrellas at the ceremony site just for those little just-in-case moments. The second one is for your officiant. Be sure your officiant reminds people to silence cell phones, to take their seats after the processional, and to remind family to remain for photos following the ceremony. If it is a friend or a family officiating your wedding, they should also know these things, but they also should know how to use a microphone and step to the side when the couple does their kiss, so the photographer gets a nice clean shot from down the middle of the aisle. Songs. Each person or couple can walk down the aisle to their own song. Now this needs to be planned with your DJ to be done smoothly. The groom song, the wedding party songs or song, the flower girl and ring bearer song, and of course the bride's song. It's also a nice idea if each one of the groomsmen shake the groom's hand and give him a hug upon walking to the front of the ceremony. It's good for photos and it's a nice touch. Other ideas is you can swap the ring bearer for your dog. Instead of flowers for the flower girls, give them bubble guns. The distraction might help nervous children calm down. I've seen brides walk down the aisle by many different people for many different reasons. If your father is not present or available, consider your mother, your brother, your best friend. It's completely up to you. Now let's touch on some of the formalities I've seen work. As mentioned earlier, songs and readings by your family or friends is always a home run idea. Short and sweet is the key. Readings under a minute and songs under about 3 minutes. This topic will come up again later when I reveal the best ceremony length at the end of this video. Some other unique ideas for ceremony formalities, other than sand and candle ceremonies, are hand fasting, where your hands are briefly tied together, symbolizing unity. This is similar to a lasso ceremony traditionally done at Hispanic ceremonies. I've seen couples plant a tree in a small pot that they will then plant in their yard at their home. You can also explore your heritage to see if there are any traditional ceremony ideas, such as jumping the broom, breaking a plate, or stomping on a glass. Mazel tov. There are literally hundreds of unique ideas out there. Just do some quick research and you will have more ideas than you will know what to do with. Another nice gesture that can be done by the bride and groom is presenting a rose to the mothers and the grandmothers in attendance. This can fit anywhere in the ceremony prior to the vows taking place. A memorial seat is also a nice nod to family members who have passed. You can simply put a photo on a chair with a single flower. Now for a few ideas that might be cool. Instead of throwing rice, which I have never witnessed in my entire life, have your guests blow bubbles when you recede down the aisle. Also, remember to stop at the end of the aisle and do a dip or another kiss for your photographer to go snap, like this one. There are only a few things I wouldn't suggest at a wedding ceremony. Not because they're bad ideas, they just usually don't go as expected. The first is the butterfly release. You can get these little envelopes that hold a butterfly. At an announced time at the ceremony, everybody opens up their envelopes and what happens? Nothing. Only a few of the 100 butterflies you've handed out actually come out of the envelope. Remember, they're bugs. They're not racehorses out of the gate. And it's usually very anticlimactic. The same goes for releasing doves. I haven't seen either of these done in quite a while, so I think people are catching on. As I mentioned earlier, the old Unity candle done outside. The wind will never cooperate and the lighters won't work. Trust me. We've now come to the part where I tell you the perfect length to a wedding ceremony and the trick that will assure that your wedding ceremony starts on time. The best length for a wedding ceremony is 20 to 25 minutes. In all of the weddings I've photographed, this time for a ceremony never feels too long or rushed. It gives your guests the show they came for and your photographer and videographer time to get all of the key shots needed to tell the story of your ceremony. The ceremony I outlined in the beginning of this video should be just around 20 to 25 minutes in length. Again, this is completely my opinion, but I've worked with some of the best wedding coordinators in the country, and most of them will agree to this statement. The second industry trick is ensuring your wedding ceremony starts exactly on time. Now, the main two reasons I see ceremonies delayed is due to late hair and makeup or missing guests that are still finding parking or walking to the ceremony. There are two things you can do to avoid this. First, give your hair and makeup artist a hard end time. If you've watched my other videos, I often emphasize how late hair and makeup is the #1 time killer at weddings. It will throw off everything you have scheduled, and lost time at a wedding is seldomly regained. The second trick is for your guests. When you send out your wedding invites, post the ceremony start time 15 minutes earlier than the actual start time. I don't think I've ever photographed a wedding where I've not seen stragglers sneaking in, hoping to go unnoticed. 15 minutes to ask your guests to wait is not an inconvenience at all, especially if they have some of that bottled water and sunscreen you provided. The main point of this video is to familiarize you with how a typical non-religious ceremony flows. Your ceremony is anything you want it to be. Make it as unique or traditional as you want. But I think the one takeaway from this video is to try and encompass all of the elements of your ceremony into that magic 20 to 25 minute mark. And I've also got another great video right here. After all the planning you've done for your wedding, this video shows you what you should practice before your actual wedding day. Be sure to watch my 14 things to practice before your wedding. I'm quite positive you will learn something. Thank you for watching.